What if the life you're living is the exact life that's quietly killing you, one safe day at a time? And what if one ordinary afternoon could expose how replaceable you are, and force you to choose who you really are? Stay with me, because the turning point is brutal. Have you ever stared at your own life and thought, this is not where I was supposed to be? Maybe you spent years chasing someone else's dream, wearing success like a costume that never fit. And the question keeps coming back, why? Maybe you followed the safe path, the degree your parents praised, the job that paid the bills, the life that looked right from the outside. But inside, it felt hollow, like you were living in a house you never chose. And that emptiness grows. Now you're wondering, is it too late to start over? Have I wasted too many years to change direction? If that question keeps you awake at night, this story was made for you, because one man lived the wrong life for 15 years. Then everything shifted. In a busy coastal city built on trade and commerce, a 37-year-old worked as a senior logistics coordinator for a large shipping company. On paper, he was doing well. But paper can lie, and it was hiding the real problem: stable salary. A rented apartment with a view of the harbor. A car, health insurance, and coworkers who respected him. His family was proud, old classmates envied him. Yet every morning at his desk, the same spreadsheets felt like a slow goodbye. He had never wanted this career. When he was young, he loved working with wood, spending hours in his grandfather's small carpentry workshop. He sanded rough planks smooth and shaped chairs and shelves with careful hands. That was his real language. The smell of sawdust was the smell of happiness to him. Then school ended, and his father sat him down like it was a business meeting. Carpentry is not a real career, he said. You need a degree. You need an office job. So he listened. He studied business management, got hired, and climbed the ladder. With every step upward, something inside him sank deeper into a life that didn't belong to him. Promotions didn't feel like wins, they felt like locks clicking shut. And he hid it. His wife noticed first. You come home every day looking like you've lost something, she said. You don't laugh anymore. You don't talk about the future. What happened to you? Her voice wasn't accusing, it was scared. And he almost broke. He wanted to tell her everything. He wasn't exhausted from work, but from pretending it mattered. Every promotion felt like another bar on the cage. He'd been playing a role for 15 years, and the role was swallowing him whole. But he chose the usual line. I'm just tired, he said. It's been a long week. The truth was fear. Fear that 37 was too late. Fear that leaving stability would erase everything he'd built. Fear his family would be disappointed. And fear that starting over would prove it was all a mistake. So he stayed. Day after day, spreadsheet after spreadsheet, pretending this was enough, until the afternoon that cracked everything open. It happened on a Tuesday, during a routine meeting, with the kind of moment no one thinks will change their life. But it did. A colleague in his early 50s, 20 years at the same company, collapsed at his desk. Heart attack. Paramedics rushed in, and the office went silent in a way that felt unnatural. 3 days later, the news came: he didn't survive. And that wasn't the worst part. The company sent flowers. People posted condolences online. By the following Monday, someone new was sitting in his chair. His name disappeared from the email system. His coffee mug landed in the breakroom trash. 20 years of loyalty erased in 1 week. And he watched it happen. That evening, he sat in his car in the parking garage and couldn't drive. He couldn't move. Hands on the wheel, staring at a concrete wall, he felt one thought arrive, not a whisper, a scream. If I died at my desk tomorrow, would I be proud of my life? He asked again, even sharper, would I look back and say, this was the life I chose? The answer hit immediately and devastated him. No. He saw 15 years of safety, 15 years of expectations, 15 years of silencing the part of himself that knew what it wanted. And he finally admitted it. He pressed his forehead against the wheel and said, quietly, I can't do this anymore. I need to find out who I actually am. That weekend, for the first time in years, he didn't think about work. He drove 2 hours back to the small town he grew up in. And he went somewhere he hadn't dared to visit. He parked outside his grandfather's old workshop, closed, dusty, but still standing. He pushed the door open. The smell of old wood hit him like a wave. Tools hung untouched. A half-finished chair sat in the corner under cobwebs. When his hand touched the workbench, something in his chest shifted, like a locked door opening. An old neighbor saw him there, retired craftsman, 70s, someone who'd known his grandfather for decades. "I thought I'd never see anyone from your family back in this workshop," the old man said. "Your grandfather would have been glad." The words landed heavier than they should have. Then the neighbor looked closer, like he could do. "I don't know what I'm doing here," the man admitted. "I just needed to feel something real." The neighbor studied him and said, "You look like a man who's been living someone else's life. Am I wrong?" He couldn't answer, the truth was written all over his face. And that's when the old man said, "Come. Let me show you something." They walked to a small bench overlooking a valley where the river met the fields. In the afternoon glow, the old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a brass compass, scratched, dented, decades old. "Your grandfather gave me this the year before he passed," he said. "And he told me something I never forgot." And the lesson began. He held the compass flat and said, "Most people spend their whole lives building roads, good roads, smooth roads. They pour everything into making the road longer and wider, but they never stop to ask the most important question, is this road going where I actually want to go?" The protagonist stared, because he knew his answer. "But the old man tapped the compass gently. "A compass doesn't care how good your road is. It only tells you direction. And if your direction is wrong, every step forward is actually a step away from where you belong." Those words didn't insult him, they exposed him. And suddenly he had to ask the question he'd avoided for years. What do I do? He asked. "I've been walking the wrong direction for 15 years. I can't just erase that." The old man shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. You didn't waste 15 years. You learned discipline, patience, managing people, solving problems under pressure. Those aren't wasted skills. They're tools. And he pointed back to the workshop. When a carpenter makes a mistake on a piece of wood, does he throw the whole plank away? No. He repositions. He measures again. He finds a new angle. The wood isn't ruined. It just needs a different cut." Then he looked him in the eye. "Your life isn't ruined. It just needs a different cut. But first, you have to be honest about what direction your compass is actually pointing." Then the old man continued, "Here's what I've learned in 73 years. Repositioning your life isn't about burning everything down. It's about 3 things." He raised a finger. "First, admit where you are, not where you wish you were, not where you. Most people never change because they can't even be honest about being lost," he said. Then he raised a second finger. "Second, remember what made you come alive, not what impresses others, not what pays the most. What made you lose track of time? What gave you energy instead of draining it? That feeling is your compass needle." And he lifted a third finger. "Third, take one step in the new direction before you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. Readiness is a lie fear tells you, so you stay still. The step comes first. The courage follows." The man sat with that, watching the valley turn gold. Then he finally said, "I'm scared." The old man nodded. "Good. Fear. If you've ever felt that same fear, like you're late to your own life, pause and tell me in the comments what you're afraid of losing. And if this story is hitting close, subscribe, because the next steps are where everything becomes real." Because he didn't quit the next day, he didn't quit his job the next morning. That would have been reckless, not brave. Instead, he did something harder. He started living 2 lives, honestly. Weekday evenings after work, he drove to his grandfather's workshop. He cleaned it, fixed the lights, sharpened old tools, and for 2 hours each night he practiced cutting, sanding, joining, measuring, starting over with his hands. And something strange happened. His hands remembered what his mind had tried to forget. On weekends, he enrolled in a furniture design course at a community trade school. He was the oldest student there, everyone else early 20s, and he felt foolish walking in. But the instructor, a woman who'd been building custom furniture for 30 years, told him what he needed to hear. Age is not a disadvantage in this craft, she said. It's an advantage. You have patience young people don't. You understand quality because you've lived long enough to know the difference. He carried that sentence like permission. And weeks passed, then months. His first real piece was simple, an oak bookshelf, hand-cut, clean lines, no nails, only traditional joints. It wasn't perfect, one shelf sat slightly uneven. But when he stepped back, he felt something he hadn't felt in 15 years, pride. Not the manufactured pride of a quarterly report. The pride of making something real with his own hands. He brought his wife to see it. She looked at the bookshelf, then at him, and said, "Your eyes are different. They look alive again." That night, he finally told her everything, the emptiness at work, the colleague's death, the workshop, the compass lesson, the fear, the dream. She listened, without interrupting. When he finished, she asked one question: how long can we survive on savings if you transition slowly? He'd already calculated it. About 8 months, he said, if I reduce hours at the company to part-time. Enough to build a small portfolio and find my first clients. She held his hand. Then let's do it. Carefully, not recklessly, but let's do it. Over the next 6 months, he negotiated a part-time arrangement at the company. He used the freed hours to build. Word spread slowly. A neighbor ordered a dining table. Then a friend of a friend asked for custom shelving. Then a small cafe needed handmade wooden benches. He didn't advertise. The work spoke for itself. Each piece was better than the last, because repetition stopped being a prison and became practice. And then came the day he walked into his manager's office with a formal resignation. His hands were shaking, not from regret, but from the enormity of finally choosing himself. His manager stared. "You've been here 15 years. Are you sure?" He nodded. "That's exactly why I'm sure. 15 years is long enough to know when something isn't right." He walked out of the building for the last time into the afternoon sun and drove straight to the workshop. Inside, he picked up unfinished walnut, ran his thumb across the grain, and smiled. For the first time, the road he was on felt like his own. And my friend, this story isn't really about carpentry. It's about the courage to admit the life you've built might not be the life you were meant to live. Most people never reposition, not because they can't, but because they confuse the cost of changing with the cost of staying. They think starting over means losing everything. But staying on the wrong path is the real loss. Every year you spend in a life that doesn't fit is a year you'll never get back. Remember the compass lesson: a beautiful road in the wrong direction will never take you home. It doesn't matter how much you've invested or how far you've gone. If the direction is wrong, the bravest thing you can do is stop, look at your compass, and take one step toward where you actually belong. So if something inside you is stirring right now, here's what I'm asking: be honest, tonight. Ask yourself, am I living my life, or someone else's version of it? And if the answer scares you, good. That fear is your compass moving. Don't silence it, follow it. You don't have to quit everything tomorrow. You don't have to burn your life down. Just take one step, one honest conversation, one evening spent doing what makes you feel alive, one small act of repositioning. Because that one step is how every great change begins. If this story touched something real, share it with someone who's been stuck, pretending, or afraid to start over. And if you want more stories like this, stay with the channel. Comment "I'm starting over" below if you're ready to pick up your compass and walk. It's not too late, the second best time is right now.